What up, fam? Mr. Country CEO, man. Look, welcome back to the channel, subscribers, family, and friends. It is Sunday morning, man. It's good to just be alive once again. And I normally give you guys some inspiration on Sunday mornings. I am on location, but nevertheless, we still can do that, right? So I'm reminded this morning, it just really struck me after last night's event here in North Carolina about a scripture came to mind, and I would share with you. Philippians 4:13, Paul told the church at Philippi, he said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And in context, Paul was speaking of his ability to be content. And he was saying, look, I've had and I know how to have. How am I able to do it? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? So for my theologians out there and Bible readers, that's the context of the text. And but it has several applications, and I want to talk about this application of being able to really accomplish great things through the strength that only God can give. And being in the room that I was in last night with some, excellent folk that aspire to get in and those who may be in, man, it just excited me. And I'll talk about more about that on tomorrow morning's video. But I want to explore this scripture. Notice what Paul says. He says, look, the way that I'm able to do it, he says, look, I can do, right? I is personal. The individual has to make up their mind that they want to do something, that they want to accomplish something, that they want to overcome whatever the situation is, right? So it has to become personal. Paul says I. Then he says can do. Can do. Look at his perspective, his mindset about that certain thing which he was trying to do. He says, I can do it. And that's what you got to have no matter what it is that you're trying to accomplish in life. Just the everyday struggle to live out our God-given purposes, man. Look, you got to have some can do about you, right? You got to be able to say it with your chest out, right? Can do. Look at the magnitude or the periphery, if you will, of the perspective that he has. He says all things. Now, I didn't go to church, school long, but all means all. Paul says, look, I can do all things, not some things, not many things, not several things, not what they say I can do, not on what the school teacher told me I can do, but I can do all things. He looked around him and looked within him and decided that there's nothing beyond my limits. I want to encourage somebody with that today. Don't put limits on yourself. This world is going to put limits on you. Your family and friends sometimes will put limits on you, but don't you dare put limits on you. And it starts up here, right? Paul says, I is personal, can do. That's his perspective. All things, the periphery, everything around me, all things I can do. All things. Look at the means by which he says he's able to do it. He says through. That's a preposition of means, right? Through. It speaks to the reality of how I'm able to do it. I can do it. I got a perspective that I can do it. It covers a lot of stuff, but I got enough sense to know that there's a means or a medium for which I can do it, right? So don't miss that word through in the verse. Probably one of the most important words in that verse. Through Christ, the one who died at Calvary for us. Hung him high on a Friday, went down to a bar tomb on a Friday night, Saturday night, early Sunday morning. That's the old Baptist preacher. Woke up with all power in his hands and particularly for the sins of mankind, and those who accept him and believe in him shall not perish, but have what? Everlasting life. So Paul says that same power that raised Jesus up, I now have that power within me if I accept in him and I'm a believer, to overcome and to do all things, to be content, Paul says. But for us, that which you're trying to do, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, school, this business, goals, you can do it through the strength that Christ gives you. That's the last word of the verse, right? Who strengthens me. Paul had the perspective that he knows how he can do it. And I'm pretty sure when we think about the Apostle Paul, he had he had a prior perspective. He had prior experience that let him know Oh, yeah, I can do this. Because, see, every time you go through something and you overcome something and you do certain things, you understand that it's not you, but it's the strength that God gives and through Christ in you. And each time you face something that you have to overcome, guess what? You just draw back on that prior experience, that prior perspective that you had. Well, look, he did this. You can do this, right? And even though what you're facing now and what you might be trying to overcome now may be a step higher, maybe a little harder, guess what? That's what stretches your faith from the last time to this time. So, okay, well, he did do that. This is a little bit more bigger, but I'm going to stretch my faith to trust him that he can do this too. What a power-packed verse, man. When I thought about that this morning, well, actually last night, and then again this morning, it popped in my mind. I said, that's what I'm going to talk to him about today. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So those of you who may feeling down, discouraged, doubtful about your abilities and what you can do, don't you dare put limits on yourself. Why don't you quote the verse like Paul? I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Paul's experience with God taught him to just depend on him. And there's a phrase I like to often tell my people at the church back home. I'm going to do what I can do. You do what you can do. And God is going to do what we both can do. So sister, brother, who's got a challenge in front of you, who may be facing doubt about this business, who may be trying to overcome other things in your life, it doesn't matter. You do what you can do. Your husband or your wife, let them do what they can do. And then you wait and let God do what both of y'all can't do. That's a word right there in itself, man. Listen, that thing has worked for me. I exhaust all of my abilities of what I can do about a situation or what I'm trying to do. And then I just sit back and let God do what he do. Many times we make a statement, oh, I'm waiting on him. I'm waiting on the Lord. And all the time, really, you need to examine, have you done all that you can do? Have you done your part? Because he's not going to come down and do or intervene and do what you can do. Make sure you stepped out on faith and done your part. And when you cut to that point where you can't go no more, that's when you sit back and you put some pride on that thing. And you say, okay, God, it's in your hands now. And you hold God true to his word. It's one thing he can't do. He cannot lie. He cannot go against his word. And we got to learn how to pray that word back to him. Lord, you said, if I seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, all these things will be added unto me. Lord, you said you be with me always, even to the end of the age. Lord, you said all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Lord, you said nothing shall separate me from your love. Lord, you said that we're more than conquerors through Christ. I could go on and on. You see the pattern, though? Pray the word back to him, and then you bag up, go on about your business, and wait on him to move. Now, watch this. While you're waiting, don't be watching. Ooh, that's a word right there. While you're waiting, don't be watching, but instead, while you're waiting, you need to be working. What do I mean by working? Go ahead on about your daily routine and everything else that you need to do. So a lot of times, one of the biggest faults we have, we waiting, but we watching. My grandmother used to boil sausage. That's country. I'm a country boy. Sausage. I'm educated, but sausage in the country, that's what I say. Sausage, for those of you who are articulate. I can be articulate too, but sausage in the country. Smoked sausage at that. Mama, I want some smoked sausage. Okay, boy, I'm gonna put it in the pot and let it boil for you. And I would literally stand at the stove and watching the sausage, right? And she came to me one day, Mama, the water ain't started boiling yet. She said, son, let me tell you something. She said, if you watch the pot, it'll never boil. And I discovered that while I'm sitting there, man, it just looked like it took the longest for that water to start boiling. So when she ever would cook hot dogs or sausage, anything she had to boil for me, I would just go play, go watch a little bit of TV, and then I'd come back in the kitchen. Next thing you know, that water boiling. What's the moral of the story? While you're waiting, don't be watching. You just start working. And then you'll look up and you'll be like, oh, wow, it's happened. He's did what he said he would do. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And if I believe that declaration, you got to believe and declare and state that declaration. Put it in your mind, but even more so, put it in your heart, and it'll give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Look, y'all be good on this Sunday. I don't know what I'm going to do around here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm going to take a ride and look around a little bit today. Y'all be good.